right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to I guess what we'll call a special Saturday lecture for the AWD1100 C# programming class. When you come in on Wednesday, July 5th, which is, of course, our next class period, you will be taking the Chapter 12 hands-on test, hot number 5. In that test, what you are shown pictorially what you're supposed to be doing, and one of the things that you'll be shown is a class diagram. And a class diagram is a type of UML diagram, and we have not talked about it yet. So I did find this article out here, and just so you see it, make this nice and bigger. So it's right there, and of course, you don't need this. So if you go out to lucidchart.com/blog/UML-diagram-templates, you'll see this particular document. And, the thing that you're probably going to be most concerned with is going down and looking at the class diagram. I'm going to draw one for you right now. Actually, I've drawn it already. So it's explained right here, and we're not going to do anything nearly this depth and breadth of coverage. We're going to do just one single thing. But this is what I want to show you. So what I'm going to do is go over this diagram in a moment. But to do that, I'm going to start up a new project. All right. And I'm going to create a new project. In fact, let me create a new folder on here. I don't think I've got a folder. We'll call it My Employee OOP. Okay, because I don't think I have anything by that name, and it looks like I don't. So it'll be a Windows Forms project, and we're going to call this Employee CD for class diagram. Okay, we will put it in the folder that we just created, which is My Employee OOP. And we will call the project name Employee CD Project, and we'll call the solution name Employee CD Solution. All right. Now, just so you're aware of this, even though I said, in fact, probably now that I think about it, I should have just made this. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. This is going to be an unbelievably simplistic interface, probably the simplest one we've ever seen. And it won't, we can put a button on it. So I'll make it nice and big. In fact, let's put in our 3 buttons that we usually have. So I'll move this down. We will have, as we have always had all semester, our calculate button, our clear button, and our exit button. Move these down just a little bit. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to put in a text box. We could do it as a label. It really won't matter. But I'm going to put it in as a text box, which I pressed the wrong control. All right, and there that is. And we will set this up as a multi-line text box, and immediately it'll allow us the ability to get bigger, of course. There we go. Just like that. Okay. In fact, we'll move it up a little bit. That looks pretty good. Move this down a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to make this read-only. We will end up putting something into it but again, there's no sense in it not being read-only. All right, now it's all gray here, so as always, let's change the background color of the form. And let's make it, we'll make it that purplish color, okay? And this, I'm going to make a dark purple, which will be blue, basically. Oh, I put that in my fore color. I want that my back color. So this will be white. And the back color here will be this kind of blue. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's change this. We're going to make the form. This is going to be real simple. So I'm just going to rename the form FRM employee. Yes, we want to change it. Let's put some text in here that says employee form with corresponding class diagram. That's pretty simple. This will be TXT output. All right, as always, we will take that. In fact, let's just grab everything here and change our font size. All right, that's all done. Let's lock the interface into place. All right, and let's make our buttons. So this will be BTN calculate. And it'll say calculate. All right, this one will be our clear. And it'll say clear, and the last one will be our exit button, and it'll say exit. All right, as always, we will come in and we will set our accept button to BTN calculate. We will set our cancel button to BTN clear. All right, and we will set our start position to center screen. And our tab order, this is read only, but we'll still make it 0, 1, 1, 2, 3. So view tab order, it already looks like it's set, but doesn't hurt anything. 0, 1, 2, 3. Again, another view tab order. All right. There really is not a lot to test right now, but we'll put in our calculate right here. All right. After that, I will put in the clear. And after that, I will put in the exit. Now for the clear, I'm going to keep it simple, and it looks like I've named my button poorly. So let's rename that BTN clear with a little L. And that didn't change it. Son of a gun. What does that mean? Let's see. In fact, I think I can come in here and do this. That's what it was named, but I think I can come in here and do a rename from here. Nope, I thought I could. There is a way to do that. I'm not sure right now what it is. So BTNCLEAR. It's not a big thing. Okay, it's still giving me the wrong name here. So let's go over to here. Sorry about this. Let's remove that. All right, now let's double click, and there it is. Okay, all I want to say here is txt output dot text equals the empty string. That's why I'm not making another routine. All right, let's move this up. All right, so we've got that. We'll do our old exit program or not here. And I'm going to drop it in just a minute. All right, so let me grab that from a different program. There it is. And we should be able to test that now as well. Okay, there's our interface. Exit, no. Exit, yes. Okay, great. All right, now I'm going to copy what I've already created, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to put it in as a big comment. All right, I'm going to have to pretty it up, but I don't even think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to drop it in right here. Okay. And like I said, I already have it here. And there it is. This is what I want. It may look a little funky when I copy it in, but we'll fix it if it does. Oh, that isn't too bad. All right. Again, I'm just keeping this simple here. And what I mean is I'm not going to come down and add that comment into every single, one of the lines here. And I also missed, I guess, here. Okay, so what you see on the screen right here, that's about as big as I want to make it, is what's referred to as a class diagram. What does that mean? Well, you're going to have 2 problems on your test on Wednesday, and each one of those problems will have a corresponding class diagram in them. You may or may not be able to tell from what you see on the screen here, but the class diagram is broken into 3 different parts. On the top, it says employee. That's the name of the class. All right, so you can see we've got this employee class. So it's in there as a rectangular box. All right, underneath this, so this is the name of the class. In fact, we'll put that over here just so you see it. So this is name of class. Then after that, we've got another rectangular box in here, and these are the class attributes. Now you'll notice that in front of each attribute is a minus sign. All right, and what that means is private. So we're going to have 4 different variables here, and each one of those variables will be private. We'll have a private variable called ID, which will be of type integer. We will have a private variable of type string called name. We will have a private variable of type string called department. And we will have a private variable. I made it a double, and that I think about it, let's make it a decimal. All right. And that'll mean that this will have to do the same thing here. Whoopsie. Try that again. Okay, so this will be a decimal as well. Okay, and again, this will be a decimal. Okay, so we have a class named employee. It will have 4 different instance variables: ID, name, department, and salary. What does that mean? That means that each employee will have his or her own ID, his or her own name, his or her own department, and his or her own salary. Let's make it even a little bit better than this. And what do I mean here? Well, let's come down here. I'm going to come down and hit enter here. Okay. Just bear with me for a second, if you would, please. All right, yeah, and you're like, why did you write that in again? Because let's make this first name. All right, and we'll make down below it, we'll make last name. I just think that reads a little better. Like that. Okay, which means of course I'm going to have to change these as well. Sorry about that. And these will have to change as well. So. Okay, there we go. A little bit of rewrite on the fly, so to speak. So we've got in here, as you can see, whoa. All right, we've got our UML diagram. Good golly, Jeff. And in that UML diagram, we have the name of the class followed by 5 private instance variables: ID, which is of type integer, first name and last name and department, which are all of type string, and salary, which is of type decimal. Then below that, everything that you see in this bottom box, these are the methods. All right? These are the methods. So this will be our default constructor. All right? This we'll call our full arg constructor. And these are going to end up being all of our auto. In fact, we won't even use auto implement. We'll just call these our properties. Now you'll notice that everything in this bottom area here, these all have plus signs, meaning they're all public. Whereas the minus sign meant private, the plus sign means public. And you'll notice that all of the properties are going to be public, and both of our constructors are going to be public as well. What is going on here? All right. So let me move this. There we go. So again, I'm going to build this class for you right now. All right. But I want to make sure you understand this is a UML diagram. In the UML diagram, it's basically kind of looks like either a square or a rectangle that's broken into thirds. In the top third, you see the name of the class inside of its own rectangular box. The name we will use is employee. Then we have the private attributes. And in this example, we are going to have 5 of them. We are going to have ID. We are going to have first name. We are going to have last name, department, and salary. So we put the designation there of a minus sign, which means that their visibility will be private. Then we have our 2 constructors. We have our default constructor, which we're not going to have any parameters. So what that means is that'll assign these things to what? It'll assign these things, what happened here? I don't know. To their, get these out of here. To their default values. Okay, so in other words, in this first one that's right here, okay, in that one, it will set ID equal to 0. It will set first name, last name, and department, each one of those to the empty string. And finally, it will set salary equal to 0.0m. Then we have our properties, and we are going to set these up basically pretty much as auto-implemented getters and setters. All right, so we've got 5 instance variables. We have 2 constructors, a default one with nothing passed that'll set everything to their default values, and a full arg constructor where we're going to pass in all 5 things. All right, and we'll set them in there. What that says is we will have to pass in an integer for ID, a string for first name, a string for last name, a string for department, and a decimal for salary. All right. Now, when we do this, I'm going to show you 2 ways in just a minute of doing it. And the first way will be more Java-like. And then I'm going to change it and make it more C#-like. All right? Again, this is in my opinion. You're not going to find what I'm about to show you in every textbook there is. But let's right mouse click on here. And we will choose Add. And we will go down to Class. We're going to call this employee.cs. There it is. Again, all we should really need in here, probably at least, is system. And we're going to make this public. Nothing new there. You've seen this in virtually every time we've created a class. But let's first start by creating those instance variables. All right. Now I'm going to call mine private int underscore ID private string underscore first name private string underscore last name private string underscore department and private decimal underscore salary. Okay, so those are our 5 instance variables. So those right here that you see, that's how you would set up these things that I showed right here. Nothing new. It's just I'm showing you how to go from a picture to the actual code. Next, we have our 2 constructors. So let's put those in. All right. So the first one is going to be our default constructor. And we're just going to put in here public. And then the name of the class, which is employee, paren, curly brace. Now, I'll put another big comment here. This will set the instance variables to the following values. All right, ID will be set to 0. First name will be set to the empty string. Last name will be set to the empty string. And department will also be set to the empty string. Finally, salary will be set to 0.00M. That's all that line of code does. All right, nothing new there. Nothing new. All right. Now, if I was working, I'm going to put the other, we'll call this our full arg constructor right here. All right, and it will again be public employee. Now notice if I did this, I'd get an error because it says, hey, you got two constructors that look the same. So we're going to change those right now. We're going to pass in an int for the ID. We are going to pass in a string for the first name. We are going to pass in a string for the last name. All right. We will pass in a string for the department and a decimal for the salary. All right. Put this on its own line. There we go. All right. So what's that going to do? Now, if we were working with Java, not C# like we are right now, but we'd probably have the same exact name for this and this. We don't have that. But if you were doing it in Java, if you had the same name, you'd say something like this.id equals ID. We don't have to do that because we've given it different names. So ID equal ID. Notice the IntelliSense is writing all these for me. So I didn't have to worry about writing any of them. So this will expect that if I create an employee object and I use this constructor, that I will be passing in an integer with an ID in it, and that'll represent the ID, a string that will represent the first name, a string that will represent the last name, a string which will represent the department, and a decimal which will represent the salary. And I'm hoping all that, taking a little bit of time and going through that makes sense. I am going to save this. You're going to get this. You're going to get every bit of this. All right. So let's go in and create our properties. All right. So I'm going to make public int. Again, I'm going to let the IntelliSense come in here and help me. I don't know if it's going to help me or hurt me, but int ID, and we're going to have a get, which is going to return an ID. And we're going to have a set, which is going to say ID equal value. This is nothing new. We have done this before. All right. Now we're not doing anything. We probably could have just put those in as auto-implemented properties. So you can do it like this, and probably what would have worked just as well would have been to say public int ID get set, like that. That probably would have worked just as well with what we're about to do. All right, so let's do it that way. Let's take this one and we'll comment this one out right here. We'll comment out this one. All right, and we'll uncomment this one. There. Okay, so you can see how the other way we could have done it. But let's put the other ones in here now. Public String first name gets set, public string last name gets set, public string department gets set, and public decimal salary gets set. All right, so those are our properties. And again, these could have all been written in this manner also. Okay, so we now have our properties. So what have we done right now? I'm asking you this question. What have we done right now? All right, when we go back to our picture here, we've done everything that's in here. We have instantiated, or not instantiated, but we've created a class named employee. We have added to that private variables, instance variables. All right, I call them class attributes. Probably instance variables would have been a better name. They all have a minus sign, meaning they're all private. We've got a default constructor. We've got a full arg constructor. And we have our properties. Our properties are public. Our constructors are public. Our instance variables are private. Okay? All right. So let's go back to here. Make that to here. There we go. So we've got all that stuff. Okay, we've written our constructor. Both constructors. We've written our auto implement properties. Let's write one more method in here, and that is we're going to override the toString method. Public override string toString. It automatically gives me this, even though I don't want it. So I'm going to remove that in just a second. And just do some replacing here. So what do I want to return? All right. Well, let's just come in here and we'll just put everything in here basically. So I'm going to put in ID employee dot all right. I got a phone call. I'm sorry. Just give me a second here. I'm going to pause and we'll come right back. All right. Sorry about that. Well, if you remember, technically, since when we set up all of these in here as our regular getters and setters, we really no longer need these. So let me comment these out. Now that's going to result in errors in this constructor. All right, but we'll change this to ID. Whoops, to ID. We'll change this to first name. We'll change this to last name. We'll change this to department. And we will change this to salary. Okay? All right. And of course, that would mean we'd have to change these as well. But now it actually does work perfectly for us to just put in our auto-implemented properties. Now I can say, and it should recognize ID, and it's not. Oops, ID. All right, why is it does not like it? Let's see. ID. Got those out of here. D, first name, last name, ID gets set. That all looks good. All right, I apologize again. I've got another phone call. Sorry about this. I'm the only one home today. Not worth going over with you, but I'll be back in a second. All right, it was something for my wife, and I asked them not to call back. Actually, I don't even need this. I think I just need ID, right? There we go. And we'll put that in, plus we'll put in a line break, plus, And then on the next line, we will have in here first name. All right. It's not going to look great, but it'll look okay. All right, plus first name. And then we will have last name. All right. And next, we will have department. Now, we don't have to technically do this, but I can say here, since it is an int, dot to string. Again, that's just considered good, proper practice to do that. All right. And then finally, we need our salary. This one, we will want to say salary dot to string, and we will want to make that of type currency. All right. Plus, we will end up with another blank line at the end. And if you don't know why we're doing that, just hold on for a second. So that's everything. All right. Now, believe it or not, we're done with the class. So what do we have in here? Well, we commented these out because we really didn't need instance variables. We could have added them, all right? But instead, we just came in and we brought in auto-implemented properties, all right? And we set them in our constructor. So we're not doing anything special in here. So really, this should now be ID, first name, oops, not first name, first name, last name, department, and salary. Now, let's test this and see if everything that's in here, everything works. What do I mean? Well, it's going to be pretty simple. So I'm going to do a file, save all here. All right. And I'm going to go back to my other one that's in here. And under calculate, I'm going to call create some employees. In fact, we'll start with create employee using default constructor. All right, pretty long name, but that's okay. So private void create employee using this. So I'm going to say employee equals new employee. Now I'm just going to say txt output.text equal employee. All right. And what doesn't it like? Cannot convert type employee to string. I think if I do a dot to string, it'll work though. Now, if this works the way I think it's going to work, I haven't tried this yet. I'm doing it all right in front of you. All right, it should say ID and have a 0, then name and have an empty string, then, first name with an empty string, then last name with an empty string, then department with an empty string, then salary with all zeros. So let's see if indeed that worked. So it should go in here. All right, and I didn't do a very good job of formatting it, but it does look like it worked. Let me clear, let me exit, and let me fix this. Okay, do I really want to end the program? Yes. So let's go fix this. Got to jump back into here. All right, so what do we want? We want first name And it is not taking, it is not taking these line breaks because since I am putting them into a text box, I've got to go \r\n. Stupid me. Okay, now let's try it. And we see if we get an ID that's got a 0 in it, a first name heading with nothing, a last name heading with nothing, a department heading with nothing, and a salary heading with 0.00. Let's see if that works. All right, so let's do a file, save all. All right, and what I'm going to put here, there's nothing wrong with what I have, but let's put here txt employee dot text equal, and we'll put in here default constructor employee \r\n \r\n. All right, and then we will add this to it, and it's txt output, not txt employee. All right, so we want to put a plus here because we want, otherwise it would not show our title. So let's see if this works. All right, default constructor employee, ID 0, first name with nothing, last name with nothing, department name with nothing, and salary with 0.00. And it all works. Okay, so that's fine. Now, I'm going to grab this code that's in here, this create new employee, and I'm going to take the call to it, and I'm going to comment it out. In fact, I don't want to comment it out. I just want to comment out the printing here. Okay, so now I'm going to call this update employee and update employee using default constructor. Okay, again, really long name, but I'm hoping at least you're understanding exactly what I'm doing here. And I'm going to do this. We already have an employee. All right, right there. I don't know if we have to pass that employee in or not. So let's try that. Let's try it without it and see if we get an error or not. So, well, I'll know right now. I'm going to say this, employee dot, nope, it doesn't recognize it. So let's call that, we'll pass in the employee that we just created. All right, and then we'll have to account for it in here. So it'll be employee, we'll just call it emp. All right, so I'm going to change each one of these. I'm going to say emp dot ID equal, let's make it 100. Emp dot first name equal John. I'll make it Jane. Jane. Emp dot last name equal Doe. Emp dot department equal, let's say she's a programmer. And emp dot salary, we'll give her $75,000. Just like that. Let's line all this stuff up because I'm squirrely that way. All right. Now that we've done all that, let's grab these two lines here. And let's put them in there without and uncomment them. Whoops. And we will say updated updated default constructor employee, and that has to be emp dot toString. So when we did it the first time, as you just saw, and I could undo this, all right. In fact, we will undo this. But my writing, I don't probably have a big enough area in here. Okay, so let's make this bigger. We'll move these down. And we'll make this bigger. Okay, now we should be able to uncomment that, and we'll have two employees. Actually, we'll have the same employee created and then updated. All right, so we have our updated one, but for some reason, because we didn't put a plus equal here. Remember, we're just keep adding on and adding on and adding on. All right, so file, save all. Let's look now. We should get our original employee with our blank stuff, then our updated employee. And there it is. Well, that has to be moved down, but that's okay. We'll get rid of this. So there's the original. Then we updated to 100 Jane Doe, programming, and 75,000. Looks to me, at least, like everything is working. All right, let me clear this and play with it a little bit. So let's see. This will change to this. This we will change to this. And let's go back into our class and let's add one more \r\n in here, like that. All right, so let's run it now. Let me do a file, save all. I want you to be able to see what's happening along the way here. So there's our default, and then we updated the employee. So hopefully, at least looking at that, that all makes sense to you. All right, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm hoping it all makes sense to you. All right, then let's come in and let's create another employee, and with that employee, let's use the other constructor. All right, so I am going to come in now, and in here, I am going to come in and take that, every thing I'm printing in here, I'm going to comment out. All right, I can still keep my calls in here to update and update, etc. That's okay, because they're not doing anything. They're setting stuff, but I don't have them printing. I could make my text smaller and print out everything. So here I'm going to call create employee using full arg constructor. All right, I'm going to call that routine right now, and I'm going to put that right down below the ones that I've just added here. So right here. Okay, whoops. Just like that. All right, now I want to create a new employee, but I want to call the other constructor. So let's come in here. We'll give this employee the number 222. We will give this employee first name of John. We will give this employee the last name of Smith. We will give this employee the department of, I don't know, let's say the other one was programming. This one will be web design. How's that? And we will give them a salary of $69,999.99. There you go, M. And since that is a number, we don't want that to be inside of the double quotes. Oops, get rid of that and add that. There. All right, now we want to do the same thing. So I'm going to grab these two lines. I am going to copy them. And all I have to do here now, a couple things. First, I have to change this back to employee. All right, and this, I'm going to use full arg constructor employee. And actually, instead of full arg constructor employee, default constructor, full arg constructor. Okay. I was going to say I could reverse the wordage, but if this works now, I should have first name John, last name Smith, department, I'm sorry, ID 222, first name John, last name Smith, department web design, salary $69,999. Let's try it. And there you go. So I have now come in and created a very, very simple example of an employee. We are actually going to use this next week. All right, but I gave you this one so you had some kind of an idea, hopefully, of what it is we're working with. All right. Now, it looks like it just ate up most of these. I was just going to try to line it up a little bit. That was an ID, so where was that? That was in here. See, it didn't like all these spaces, but that's okay. So what you have seen, if I do come in, and we'll do one more thing in here, and then that'll be it. I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to take the size of the text that's in here, and I'm going to lessen it, decrease the size. So instead of it being 25, let's make it about 18 and see if we can get all three employees in here. I have no idea. It might run off the page. In fact, let's make it like 16, and we'll see if that works or not. Okay, now I'm going to come back to here then, and the stuff that I've commented out, I'm going to uncomment. And let's look. Again, I might not have given it enough room, so yep, there they are. So there's our default constructor. There is our updated default constructor, and there's our full arg constructor. All right. I do want you to understand, I can, C-A-N, I can come into this full arg constructor and still run methods on it. What do I mean? Well, let's clear it and let's exit. Okay, now I've got that employee, and let's try to make this a little easier to understand. So we're going to say here, for the one with the default constructor, we're going to call this employee 1. It's going to change some stuff and give me some errors, but we'll fix it. That'll be employee 1, and that'll be employee 1, and we'll make this emp 1, just so you know who I'm talking about. Okay, so that's all fixed now. Then for the second one, we're going to make this, we called the first one employee 1, so we'll call this one employee 2, which will mean that'll have to be a 2. Now, what I'm going to do, we're going to suppose that, hey, we're going to print this stuff out, but guess what? Employee 2 just got a raise. So I'm going to say employee 2 dot salary plus equal, and let's say they got a $5,000 raise. So if this now works, if we are able to update it correctly, instead of this saying $69,999, all right, it's going to say $74,999. And let's also assume that that person got changed. So the employee 2 dot department. Now they are working in UX design. All right. Now we could have printed them out beforehand and then reprinted them out. I'm just doing it like this. But what my hope is that in doing this and showing it to you, we will now have ID 222, first name John, last name Smith, department UX design, and salary $74,999. So let's look at that. And you can see the salary's been updated to $74,999, and the department is now UX design. That's what I wanted to show you. All right, I am going to take this this particular problem, or whatever you want to call it, that I'm working on. I'm going to save it. All right, I am going to come out, and again, we call this my employee OOP, it looks like. So let's first go out here to GitHub. Let's create a new repo with that name. All right, let's grab our setting our remote origin here. Copy that. Now come back to here. You know the drill by now. We will go to git bash here, and I will make all my good stuff in here. So I'll say my git init, because right now I don't have a git folder. I now do. Git add dot, git commit -m. We're going to say employee oop-uml example, and today is 7/1/2023. All right, and let's see if we can push it. Oh, I didn't add that remote origin. Let's double check. That looks good. Now let's see if we can push it. It's been pushed. If I refresh, there it is. So I'm going to send you out an email in just a little bit, and that email will have a link to that GitHub repository on it. Okay? I am going to also in this email suggest that you watch this before you take the test, because hopefully it'll make it a little bit simpler for you. All right, so with that, have a good weekend. Have a good 4-day weekend of what's left, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and I'll try to do as well.